Hello, Girl Geek X. My name is Boomie Odumade, and today I'm going to talk about how to have empowering performance reviews. Specifically, going to look from the person receiving the review. So, to be in sync, I'm going to start with some terminology which applies to this presentation, even if not the rest of your life. The review receiver is the person who gets the review, probably from their boss. Sometimes I'll just say receiver. That sounds like sports, but I mean the receiver. The review giver is giving the review to someone, they're delivering it. They're probably the boss, but they're probably receiving it from their own boss as well. So today's focus is you as the receiver. See, did it already. And we're going to talk about reviews, responsibilities for all parties briefly, but really diving in to the receiver, and also a section on what to do when reviews go wrong. We'll close. There will be some appendices for offline viewing because we have 20 minutes. So let's get started. Why hear from me? Like most of you, I've had a lot of experience as a review receiver. Here's one example in the screenshot. The same area of improvement that was there for ages was about having more confidence. And I've been a manager or above multiple times, so I also have a lot of experience as a review giver. And often it was to people who I had met less than a year ago, a year before I had to give them the review, sometimes a matter of 3 or 4 months like in this screenshot. So let's talk about reviews. Why companies do them? There are a lot of reasons, but the point here is that when they are done well, they can have benefits for the receiver. What are those benefits? We're going to talk about five of them super quick, but there could be more. We're going to talk about reflection, a snapshot, pure consistency, identifying training needs, and bridging leadership changes. So first of all, it can be a time to reflect. It helps to pause and reflect. It helps the employees, it helps the company at large. So to you as the receiver, reflection can bring insights. And you've ideally been getting feedback year round. So an effective performance review is going to assemble all those pieces together. It's one place to view a snapshot of your strengths and areas of improvement, your career goals, and maybe other things like promotion or other things. And we all have different bosses. People in similar job functions often have different bosses. So reviews can help lead to consistency. Consistency can help minimize bias and aim for fairness, especially if we're using reviews for evaluations like with promotions or comp, it helps that be more equitable. And we continue learning. Reviews can help identify training needs, not only for the employee, but sometimes it identifies training that the entire company might need or all its employees might. And if you ever had a new boss, the review can be just one way, not the only way. You still need to form the relationship, but it can be one way for your new boss to learn about you. It should be combined with other ways. So now we'll talk about roles and responsibilities. Well, first, we're going to talk about what makes the review empowering, and that comes from year-round feedback and effective performance reviews. The intersection of that is empowerment. Today, we're going to talk about the right side. So, what does make a review effective or empowering? I broke this into two categories, the context and the review. The context means we know what the review is going to be used for. It's clear. And the org has flexible consistency, which sounds like an oxymoron, but I'm going to explain that. And the review can be a milestone bridging the past and the future, the snapshot in time. The review, so that's the context under which the review is being used. The review itself should be one delivery, even though it's going to take multiple inputs because you've been working with multiple people. Ideally has no surprises. Surprises should be extreme exceptions. It highlights strengths and wins, and it's also going to talk about your areas of improvement, but also the support you're getting for it. And it's delivered as a conversation, potentially with follow-up. So multiple players here where we have the company, usually HR and ops, the review giver, the boss, the peers and collaborators you're working with, and you as the review receiver. Responsibilities across the board. The company's responsibilities include clarifying the rules and timing of the review. It also includes providing training. And people don't usually start jobs just knowing how to write or deliver or receive reviews, so they should provide training to the staff. And they set the guideline for flexible consistency. Remember, I said I was going to explain that. This is enough consistency so that things are fair. Things like comp promotion decisions, especially as people have different bosses. But it's also flexible enough because we have different job functions and levels and contributions, and it's flexible enough to capture those things for proper evaluation. The responsibilities of the giver or your boss. First of all, I hope they believe reviews can be empowering. If they don't, tell them. And they are going to gather input from other people because you're not the only one, they're not the only one you've worked with. Maybe you don't even work together that much. They've hopefully been giving you feedback year round. If not, let's address that. And they're going to write up the empowering review, deliver it as a two-way conversation, and follow up as needed. So now we get to you, the person receiving the review. We're going to deep dive, and this is a preview of what we're going to talk about. There are year-round considerations, which we're going to talk about, review time considerations, and all of that is enveloped by a foundation of self-advocacy. Okay, so let's deep dive. Self-advocacy. If you need to, I would read more about this. It's going to be super important to your career. But the summary is you have to advocate for yourself. You can't expect your work to speak for itself because it's not going to. And also, please don't expect others to notice your work and remember it when the time comes because you don't remember everything you did either. It's going to be really important to be your own advocate throughout your entire career. Okay? So now let's talk about the goals. We're going to set goals at least annually. These should be SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Those goals should be tied not just to the work we're doing, but the impact, which is also tied to the business outcome. And it should be documented in a shared place. This isn't a secret that I'm keeping for myself. It should be shared with at least your boss. You should revisit it from time to time because you're changing, the company's goals may be changing. So check it. I would say at least every other month. Make sure it's still valid because that's what you're going to be rated on later. If they do change, make sure that's updated and that's shared. And hopefully this goes without saying, but you're doing the work to follow through on the goals. Now you're going to be having some ongoing conversations. First of all, it's going to be really important to share your work and the impact with your manager often throughout the year. You're sharing your progress on the goals. You're talking about your wins and the impact. And you're also discussing career development. If you need them to sponsor you somehow, it helps to talk about it in the ongoing conversations with your boss. You're working with other people, so it's important to show your work and the impact with the team and the stakeholders. So this means your contributions are visible, you're showing and telling, and you're connecting the work that you're doing, not just to your personal goals, but also the team goals, because I bet the team has goals. If you are in meeting, when you are in meetings, be present, don't be distracted. And I intentionally split up the speak up in meetings as needed because for some that needs to be a reminder as well. Self-advocacy. Now, don't forget about yourself. It's important to reflect on your work and your impact. This is above and beyond what you've shared elsewhere. So have your own notes, something that talks more about what you've been doing. This should include at least your wins and the impact. Repetitive, right? And I actually recommend this so much I built a tool for wins. Feedback. Take a deep breath. If you're not getting feedback requested, ask your boss, ask your team, ask other people, and it helps to be specific about what you're asking. Not just, can you give me feedback, but maybe ask, is there something I could have done differently on X project or something? Feedback helps you grow. And so reward yourself for that growth. If you're getting positive feedback, note it, but keep doing it so that you keep getting the positive feedback. The real discussion comes in constructive feedback. This is where I'm going to probably spend a little more time. It's going to still be important to receive this gracefully. Feedback, positive or constructive, is a gift. Constructive feedback, especially, it's the gift that's not always easy to give. So when you're receiving it, at, seek clarity. Try to understand where it's coming from, the purpose, the intent, all of that. It's gonna be hard, but resist the urge to defend in the moment. If it is worth defending against, that can happen, but initially receive it gracefully to understand. Then afterwards, make sure you're working on the feedback, make sure you're making progress, and note that progress along your wins because you're growing and you're growing in both ways. Right? So we've talked about the foundation of self-advocacy and the year-round items. Now we're going to talk about review time. Self-reviews. This is your opportunity. This is your chance to consolidate all of the work and impact you've been doing a lot throughout the year into one amazing document. Okay? It's not the time to be modest. No matter how amazing a boss is, they're not going to remember every amazing thing you do. So it's your chance. This is a time to ask self-advocate with all the details about the work and the impact. Dig deep. I have to tell people that all the time, including myself, dig deep. And if you have been tracking your wins and impact, thank your prior self because it's gonna be easier now. I try to practice what I'm preaching, but it's a lesson that took me a while to learn too. I learned it way later than I should have because I want to be modest, don't want to be boastful, and my work should speak for itself. I had a boss a few years ago who just wrote glowing reviews for me. So I got better at self-reviews because I wanted for him to have less to write. And I got better at self-reviews, but he still topped me every time. And that's a good problem to have. It's not a problem. It's a good situation to be in. Okay. So your self-reviews got to rock. Now, it's almost time for the conversation. So let's get in the right mindset as we think of the upcoming review. As a reminder, reviews don't have to be scary. But if they are, please don't beat yourself up for being scared. Instead, feel the fear and proceed anyway. Now, at least for now, the person giving the review is a human. They may also be nervous. It's not the big bad boss. And effective reviews have benefits that I shared already. Even in companies where rules or constraints may reduce the benefits, there's still going to be some benefits to you. Additional prep that you should do, read the stuff beforehand, read your goals, read your self-review. If the review was shared with you, read that and note any questions along the way. Now, the rest of this is really up to you. I recommend having a little time to yourself right before so you're not running late or coming in with the wrong, flustered. But if you need a distraction, you do you. I do recommend, though, to block time after the conversation because it might run long or you might need to digest or reflect or you might need to celebrate, right? So now we're at the conversation. This is a conversation, so both of you should be listening. So and for you specifically, acknowledge what you hear. This isn't about do you agree or do you disagree? For now, acknowledge. If you don't understand something, ask clarifying questions because you do need to understand the feedback. And these should be real questions. Have you ever had people say, I don't get it? When they do get it, they just want to keep saying they disagree. Ask real questions, not disguised disagreements. And if you do ask for more examples, be ready to hear that. Because a good leader, they're going to have multiple examples because they are hopefully giving you constructive feedback on a trend and not just one situation. So even if they don't share everything, they probably have more examples. But then don't, it's counterproductive if you get the more examples to feel like they're keeping score. Okay? If it helps you, take notes during the conversation. Okay? So, we've talked about the foundation of self-advocacy, the year-round things we should be doing with goals, ongoing conversations and feedback, both positive and constructive. And we've talked about review time with self-reviews, prepping for the conversation and having the conversation. So now what about reviews that might go wrong? What did you think when you got to this section? Did you think I should do nothing for reasons like this? Or I want to do something, but for reasons like this? Well, this isn't live, so I can't hear it. So I do need to start with some truth. This can be risky. It can. Okay. Even in environments where it's not risky, it can be uncomfortable. So you're going to have to decide for yourself at your company and your situation. If you do decide to address a review that went wrong, it's going to be uncomfortable, but if you do it anyway, you'll know you tried. So now I'm going to go to the advice. And that advice, I'm going to start with a note for underrepresented people, 5 steps, and an appendix we won't get to, but I have slides for in case you need to escalate. So this is the Girl Geek X conference. We're all underrepresented. The playing field's not always level. That's real. And so I don't want to brush that under the rug. But that does make the steps in this section even more important because it's our reality. So I'm going to name 2 things that are both true. Bias may be part of the story, isms may be part of the story. However, don't automatically assume they are the story. I have a prior talk about reducing bias in the workplace, but for going forward, for this presentation, it's just worth noting that. Okay. So, step 1 of 5, frame of mind. This is not the same thing as mindset. This means you just got upset and you need to be in the right frame of mind before you can address it. So, let's get you there. However, you need to get there. Do you need to take some time to think things over? Not overthinking, though. Or do you need to do something else to occupy your mind because maybe the space is going to help you? Take whatever the time to get into the mindset. This may mean you're meditating with a chai latte and a book for pleasure. Come back when you're ready. Another slide I'm going to spend a little time on. You need to check in with yourself. Are you open? Have you been open to receiving constructive feedback? Can you think of a time that you've received constructive feedback and acted on it? If you can't, great. You can stop listening to me for a few seconds and you're going to carry that into this process. But if you can't, then it may be worth looking into how you receive feedback. And if you need to do that, you need to do that before this conversation. True story, I once had a director who was not good at receiving feedback, sent him articles about it, and he was really appreciative, said it would help him professionally and personally. Can be done. Now it's time to journal. Call this a journal for a reason because you're writing out your thoughts and your feelings unfiltered. This is getting it out. You're not worried about the words because this is all for yourself. Write whatever you want, they're valid feelings. If it helps, you can talk about this with somebody that you trust. Okay? Now, on step 4, we're jotting the thoughts for the conversation. Do not send this. This is very important. It should be a conversation, not a long email or Slack conversation. So, as you're jotting down the thoughts, I recommend bullet points because you're not going to read a script anyway. This isn't a play. I'd also recommend rehearsing beforehand, even in front of a Zoom or a mirror. The real thing's going to flow differently, but just the rehearsal can help you feel better. And if you can, I would run it by a trusted friend, mentor, or coach. If you can, someone who's actually delivered written feedback and may have someone like this coming to them. Okay? Now, about having the conversation, schedule it. Schedule a specific meeting for this. Don't try to squeeze it into other existing meetings. And also give the other person time to prepare. It's a human on the other end. Okay? During the conversation, it's important to lead with the concerns. Gonna maybe have emotions, but let's try to have clarity over the emotions. And it's going to also be important to state your case clearly, but also listen to theirs. You may or may not win this, but the main goal is to have understanding and resolution. So that was the recap of what to do when it goes wrong. We talked about the 5 steps, and like I said, there's an appendix for escalating. So before your next review, ask yourself, do I have clear documented goals? Am I sharing my work and impact regularly with my boss and team? Have I received feedback recently? And if it was constructive, have I acted on it? What's your answer? If it's no, that's your starting point. If it's yes, great. Either way, keep going. So, here's some links. I mentioned a win and impact tracking tool. There's a link to that. A workplace's preferences sheet can help inform your goals. And I believe performance reviews can be empowering. So I talk about it often. I have a 2024 blog and I have a 2024 presentation, but that was focused on the giver end. The slides for this specifically are at that link. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn or my site, Speak My Sessionize profile, Slack groups we're in. And if you're early career, follow Ada Marie on the various socials because I'm one of the experts sharing information year round. Thank you. Oh, I have three slides about escalation as a last resort. We won't go through them, but they are here in the slides. Thank you.